Warning: the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening. Welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. I'm your host, Angie Fernot. With me, as always, is inquisitive astronaut Chris Randazzo.
Free air everywhere!
Mysterious earthling Karen Randazzo.
We came, we looked, and we left.
And least spacey detective Evan Goldstein.
Man, the Punisher let himself go.
That was the reference. Okay, sorry. This is episode number 230 for the week of May 7th. This month was my pick. I chose The Expanse. Technically, I did not choose this, by the way. This was a recommendation.
It chose you?
It chose me. I wasn't really given a choice. Except I was. This was season 1, episode 1. This was the pilot episode. I don't remember if it had a name.
It had a pilot.
Dulcinea.
It certainly had a
Dulcinea.
pilot. It was a thing.
That's for the second half, though.
Yeah, so, it was a TV show. We're going to talk about it. That's what we do here. Anywho, before we get
that up.
before we get into that, this is your weekly reminder that you can get in touch with us at mail@geekade.com. Are you watching anything new? What do you like? What do you not like? Tell us about your television experiences. Tell us where you're watching television. Tell us what you want us to watch. This was actually recommended to us, so we do listen to you if you speak. We always want to hear from you, so please, pretty please, be our friends. Let us know you're out there. All right, guys. This is the moment. Evan and I have the longest list ever of things we've been watching. So, Chris and Karen, please go first.
Okay.
Well, today is May 4th, and I did not watch the premiere of Bad Batch yet, so...
I saw that was available, and I was gonna, but I stopped.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you watch
I'm
it
not really in a hurry to watch that one. My friend told me it was pretty good.
Okay.
So, I'm sure it is. It's, more Clone Wars. I wasn't in love with the Bad Batch when they did the whole backdoor pilot thing in Clone Wars, but, I didn't hate it, so... I'll watch it when I get around to it. I was just not in a rush. Let's see. There's a couple of big ones that we hit.
Finished.
Yeah,
since last we spoke.
Exactly. Like we had the Invincible finale.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't watch it yet. Son of a bitch.
It was.
I think we're actually a couple behind.
Yeah, I know what happens though, but I don't know if Evan cares about spoilers. I think this is one of those shows where it's better to be surprised, but
It was rough, man. It was it was very, very good, but it was difficult.
Yeah, the finale was super the first half of it. I would say I was like, why? I got the whole time we were watching the whole show, I was enjoying it, and then the first half of the finale episode, I was like, why am I watching this? There's nothing here that is. It's just all unhappiness.
Mm-hmm.
It was really brutal. I mean, I loved it, but it just went so far south. Everything got so messed up. I felt really bad about all of it, but it got renewed for a couple of seasons, so I'm really excited about that to see how it happens next, because I just loved this show. But yeah, man, that finale was...
Yeah, that storyline's got 150 issues or somewhere around there, so they have plenty of TV left.
And one of the other things about it too is that if I'm not mistaken, a lot of this show is about Invincible getting his series was about Invincible getting his ass kicked, but also the fact that it's about his perseverance. So they give him lots of things to persevere through.
They sure do. He had his work cut out for him, that is for sure. I thought this show was really just phenomenal. I loved it. And that wasn't the only thing I loved. I'm trying to think of what else before I get to the big one that like totally knocked my socks off. What else have I watched this week?
I'm so curious as to what knocked his socks off because I don't know if we know.
I don't think you do. I don't think I had started it when we had started when we recorded last. What the heck else have we been watching?
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh right, that ended this week. Falcon and Winter Soldier. Jeez.
I don't know where that you did last night. The meme. I disarmed you. That was funny, and it was the looks. That was funny.
Actually,
Yeah,
speaking of memes, have you seen any of the Invincible memes that have come out since the end of the season finale?
Lots of comparisons between Omni-Man and what's his name from The Boys.
Oh no, there's one. I'll give it to you guys, and maybe I don't know if this will make it into show notes or not. But Genghis actually shared it, and it's Godzilla and Kong, and Godzilla is standing where Omni-Man is, and Kong is in the ground. It's good. It's very good. But yeah, how do you
Falcon
guys?
and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, how do you feel
conclusion.
about it?
That was great.
I'm not happy that Sharon is like apparently turning evil.
Yeah, I'm not too thrilled about that either. They even called her Agent Carter at the end, and I was like, "How? Get those words, get her name out of your mouth."
I did the same thing. Evan was like, "Well, they fucked her over," and I was like, "Yeah, and Peggy got screwed over all the time. You didn't see her turn and traitor."
Yeah, but
That's
they didn't
right.
call her Peggy. She will never be Peggy ever.
Never.
No matter how
never
hard
really
they
That's
tried
not
to
her
make.
name?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to answer that.
They tried so hard during one of the Captain America movies, like, oh look, your roommates or you live next door. Look, new love interest. No, it's not Peggy Carter.
No, it's never going to happen. But that doesn't mean that Peggy Carter's niece gets to be a full-blown supervillain. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thumbs down.
I'm
not
really
like
hoping.
in the realm of bad storytelling, like just that character is making me angry. And so the question is that Sharon Carter?
Yeah, there's so many.
That is a very good question.
Because there's a Secret Invasion TV series happening, so she could very well be a Skrull. We don't know, but as of right now, Sharon Carter being bad guy, not cool. Not cool, man.
The power broker. I was like, it's not pawn broker.
Yeah.
Power broker.
But I mean, Falcon's out. Like new Captain America's outfit looked spot on. Like it was just so comics accurate. It was like, wow, they just straight up did that. They didn't even bother trying to modernize it or whatever because they didn't need to. That outfit looked great. I just thought it was great. I loved this show so much. It was so much fun. It was so smart. And I remember after they got into the whole black super soldier program thing, and then they kind of left it. People gave the show a lot of shit,
Right.
and they came right back to it. There was a return, there was a resolution to that, and I thought that was really well done. I liked all of it. I thought it handled itself brilliantly, and Zemo was a great villain, and I love to see where this is all going. Like,
I have to stop you there because I was reading about this show because I actually had some problems with the way that they handled aspects of the plot. And one of the things that I had heard is that I haven't done a Marvel rewatch in a while. You guys have done one more recently than I have. Did they basically retcon everything about Zemo?
what do you mean?
Like, apparently they changed part of his backstory. Like, they just kind of wiped it out.
What part of his backstory?
I don't know.
He didn't have much of a. He didn't have
a backstory.
Yeah, he wasn't
in the
really
movie.
in. He was in the
Well,
MCU
he did.
for
I mean, he
4
had
minutes.
his family was killed in Sokovia. That was his backstory.
That was the backstory. We didn't know anything. We didn't know that we didn't know he wasn't a Baron. We didn't
Well, no, he was.
Well, we knew that he was in. I know he was in Civil War. But one of the things that I was seeing that people were talking about was the fact that, like, apparently they changed some aspect of his backstory, and I didn't know. That's why I was asking. I had no idea what they were referring to.
Maybe to the comics.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't anything nothing struck me as contradictory, and I haven't heard anything to that effect. They gave him more
Dance
backstory.
moves.
They gave him dance moves. They gave him a lot. They fleshed him out considerably and made him more of a villain. And I thought it was great. Like he handled himself exactly like he would. Like, and given the opportunity to kill super soldiers, he will always take that opportunity. And it was great. Yeah. I don't know what that's about. I'll look it up. Maybe there's some sort of contradiction somewhere, but whatever it is, it's not obvious.
In the MCU, where did he show up? In the movies, where did he show up?
It was Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah,
that's
he
it,
was.
right?
That was it. He was in Civil War, and he was trying to get control of Bucky, so that he could break up the Avengers, because he doesn't think people should have superpowers.
Okay, so it wasn't okay. Yeah, it's got to be his backstory about his family and stuff from the comics, because that's.
Yeah, it just says not only, like I just looked it up and it says in an article, not only is Zemo's new backstory at odds with MCU's notoriously flexible timeline, but his core motivations and raison d'etre,
Raison d'etre, it means reason for being.
Thank you, are also transformed.
Nope.
Just to make him more
false.
Yeah, make him a more relatable character. They fleshed it out. They gave him more. Yeah.
There's none. There's the whole timeline thing. Sure, but that's the MCU in general. There's shit does not line up exactly perfectly in the MCU timeline wise, and
Like, what do you want from me, people?
yeah, like get over it. If that's the hill you're gonna die on, then have at it. Be angry at them because all the timeline stuff doesn't match up perfectly within reality, because it's 23, 24 movies at this point, and like okay, I am willing to suspend my disbelief for these superheroes flying through multiple dimensions and stuff.
And if you think it's so easy to make it all line up, you freaking do it.
Yeah, don't mean you, Angie. I mean, people who complain about that, because yeah, that shit's doesn't line up perfectly in the MCU, and like just kind of deal with that fact, okay? Like it's a thing. But the whole reason for being thing, I don't get that in the least. I mean, his whole purpose was to break up the Avengers because he doesn't think people should have superpowers, because the whole Sokovia thing happened and killed his family. Like, they even mentioned it in this movie. Like, I don't know. Sorry, this TV series. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently it's more about the fact that he was wealthy, and then saying that they shifted him from being a humble father and soldier to a baron who lived in luxury.
When did they claim he was a humble father?
In the film, apparently. That's why I was asking, because like I don't know. I was like, I thought Zemo was great. Like I didn't have any problems with him. My problems were more with like the Flag Smashers story arc, and like some of the stuff that they were doing, like where John just redeems himself. Like
yeah, that was a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, like,
and I don't think he did redeem himself. Like, I think but it was a heel turn. I was reading some criticism where people are saying like like we're supposed to like him now.
No,
well,
I don't
if that
think
was
we're.
the point, then
are we? Because
U.S.
don't. I
Agent is not a likable character.
No, I didn't get so to be clear, I did not get the impression that we were supposed to like him, but the way that they very easily, I feel like they practically fist bumped him at the end of that episode after they had all worked together. And in the heat of the moment, when he shows up and like that truck's gonna teeter over the edge and he's trying to stop it, like in the heat of the moment, it's like, oh, dude, okay, yeah, we could use your help. Sure. At the moment, you serve a purpose. But like the way that they were just kind of like, oh, cool, like you showed up again in the Captain America suit with a shield that you clearly made, and we know that you are not mentally stable. Yeah, all right, bro, see you later. I'm Captain America now. Like, what? Like, they just, I don't know. I felt like the story didn't acknowledge, like, they made such a big deal out of the fact that he killed this Flag Smasher and the way that he did it, and how he had fallen from grace so strongly. And then, like, when he makes this reappearance, it just, I felt like they kind of just, like, didn't really acknowledge the depth of the or the meaning behind all of that. Like to me, it was a much more serious situation than just like, oh, thanks for helping, okay, bye, see you later, you fucking psycho. Like, I don't know, they just seemed way too at ease with him, and it made me really feel weird about it, because I felt like they were addressing some kind of difficult issues in this show, and then they just, like, they didn't want to have anyone who was too clear cut of a villain. Like, everyone here has like some sort of motivation for the things that they're doing. Like, Zemo is, you know, his family was killed, so he wants to get rid of super soldiers because he doesn't want any more people like this out in the world. And then, you know, John Walker was trying to be Captain America, but he crumbled under pressure. But like, he's not so much a villain as maybe he's an anti-hero. Like, there was even the Flag Smashers, like, there was no, like, he, you know, when he does this whole thing about Carly, like this whole breakdown and this whole like speech, to me there was never anything that clearly just defined, like, yeah, we have a villain here. Everything was really ambivalent, and to some extent I was like, actually this is kind of cool. But to other aspects of that, it did make me feel like they were using that as not an excuse, but it seemed to weaken some of how the aspects of how they were handling plot. So I struggled with that a little bit, but it sounds like you guys enjoyed it, and that's fine.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying with the John Walker stuff. Like, I don't remember how it went away, but I don't remember anyone being particularly okay with him. Like,
He's the U.S. agent now.
Yeah, he's the U.S. agent now,
gave him a
but
new
when he
costume.
showed
no,
up...
I mean, like, how did he get away? How did he get from point A to point B? Like, they finished off taking care of the bad guys where, I mean, he broke under the pressure, and he lost his mind and killed that dude, but that's not all he is. Like, he's not a clear-cut, no, heel turn, bad guy, 100% bad guy, no more good guy. Like, this guy, they chose to be Captain America for a reason. Mm-hmm. Like, he was, at least in his core, a good guy. So I'm not sure I understand what the complaint is that he wound up doing half-decent things at the end. Like, he wasn't redeemed or anything like that, but he's not... They showed that he at least learned something from being around them. Like, no, don't do revenge right now. Try to save this truck. That, you know, they didn't let him go, but I don't understand how he got to, like, that U.S. agent conversation with what's her face. Like, I don't remember how he left the chain of custody or anything like that, or if he was just free to go because he's free to go. I don't
that
know
was
what
the thing that I was
about.
talking about, though. Like, I'm saying, okay, they didn't make him a clear-cut villain, so they weren't going to treat him as a clear-cut villain, but they also, like, took away his title as Captain America. He showed up in a Captain America costume, like, and then, yeah, like, all of a sudden the next scene you see him, like, he puts on...
That's the thing. Like, the government said, no, you're not Captain America anymore. You've been removed from service. He's no longer... I can't remember if they said dishonorably or honorably discharged, but he has been discharged. The U.S. agent stuff came about with Seinfeld woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's not the government. But
No.
the issue is that they are now presenting that character again. Like, yes, you're still going through the motions of being a Captain America, and I'm air quoting that. Not everybody who's watching this show is familiar that U.S. agent and Captain America are two different things, and one of them is a clear-cut storyline there. U.S. agent is the brutal one, and he's rough, and like he is playing that part correctly. Mm-hmm. But there was...
It's just how they handled it, like the script writing. Like, that's all I'm saying. It just didn't seem clear in the story, like, why there was no real acknowledgement of all that. Because
and that's weird, because the entire time I'm watching this and I see that the path that he is going on, I knew where it was going to end. I knew he was going to not be Captain America anymore, and he was going to be U.S. agent. And
it just seemed to me like they had bigger fish to fry.
It's just
like
it's just
that was
weird.
What happened to me. Like, watching it, like, oh great, this guy's here, but at least he's trying to help us. We have more important things to deal with. Like, yes, we could scold this guy and have a big fight with this guy, but that's not going to stop the actual live, real threat that's going to murder people right now.
But that was my point, is in the moment, it made sense that they didn't address it with him, and they were like, yes, we need help. It was after that fact that the next thing you see, he's just, like, gone again, and it's like, you fucking showed up in your Captain America suit again after they told you you are no longer, like, they took that away from you, and you showed up in that, made a goddamn shield, and nobody thought that was weird. No one thought they should address that with him. No one thought that there should be like any follow-up with him.
When?
After the fight. Like, Sam makes the big speech.
When after the fight? Like, did he wait around?
He was there, yeah. I thought he was in the crowd.
When did he leave?
I don't remember. That's my point. Like, there wasn't anything that acknowledged any of that.
Except for the next scene he was getting his garb as to be another agent of some sort.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's entirely possible. Like, I guess I get what you're saying, that they didn't overtly say, here is what happened, here's why nobody stopped and talked to him about all this stuff, but I didn't have a problem with that at the end of WandaVision, and I'm not going to hold it against this show either for not showing me literally everything that happened. I mean, there's going to be more stuff in the future. I'm sure it will be addressed at some point, but I don't know. I have a hard time calling that out as a show ruining problem.
No, I didn't say it ruined the show. I'm not saying it ruined the show. I enjoyed the show. I'm just saying there were certain aspects of it that I had questions about that I didn't fully, like, I felt like there were aspects of the Flag Smashers plot that I was kind of like, okay, like, there were certain things that as I was watching it, I was like, I wish that there was a little bit more time, like one more episode of this show. I felt like the story arcs, they wrapped everything up. I just wanted a little bit more from certain things because I did feel as though there were aspects of the plot that could have been better fleshed out. Not bad. It's not bad. I enjoyed everything about it. I loved watching the show, but there were just things that I was like, I liked other Marvel stuff better, is all.
Fair enough. I liked other Marvel stuff better too. I have a hard time looking at it like, well, they didn't do these things, so that means they're not going to happen. Like, well, no, clearly they're going to do these things. You just got to wait for them to do these things. Who knows where these characters are going to show up again? I mean, everything is so wide open. Like, they didn't tie up all the stuff that I want to know about in WandaVision, but I'm sure they will at some point. Like,
that's the thing with the television shows.
The MCU has trained me to not be bothered by the fact that things don't get wrapped up in the things that I'm watching, because they're just going to get wrapped up in the next thing that I'm watching. Like, geez, all the people that were pissed off about, what's his name, the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. It's how many years later, but they're following up on it. Like, we're going to get the real Mandarin in this new Shang-Chi movie. Like, there's no end to the amount of stuff that they will eventually do or can eventually do. So I'm just not going to be upset about them not closing every point. Like, maybe there was a whole thing that maybe they're going to release a webisode next week that shows, like, Sam finishes doing all the stuff that he was doing. Everybody finishes doing the other stuff that they were doing, and then they go to find John Walker, and he's gone because a limo came by and picked him up, and they snuck him out of there before anybody can be like, yeah, so you showed up with a Captain America shield you made in your garage, and that's not okay. Like,
no, you make a good point about the open-endedness of it, because I don't watch, like, I fell off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I never finished it. Like, I haven't. I've been telling Evan for weeks now, like, I want to do a Marvel rewatch at some point. It's just such a huge undertaking, but you have been doing those things. Like, you would know better that, like, yeah, it's okay if they leave certain things open-ended, because it's not going to be ignored. Like, some avenue of this will be addressed in the future, and just because they didn't handle, like, the situation with John Walker doesn't mean that, like, we're not going to find out. Yeah.
See, and that's the difference now with the Marvel television shows. They're purposely doing things to leave so many open-ended topics to tie into the movies. Like, there's 3 or 4 different aspects of this show that we're talking about that can go into 3 or 4 different movies. It's not necessarily the next Captain America movie. It's not necessarily the next Wakanda movie, because both of those things were in this movie, like, or in this show. Like, it's trying to, which Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did not do. It sort of pulled away from the movie universe.
Yeah, I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. eventually kind of decanonized itself.
And that's the thing. Where I'm not like you're not used to seeing television like that. This is the first time anything like this has happened, where a television show is trying to bridge and continue multiple movies for multiple years of storytelling. So it's interesting to see where they're going with it.
Yeah, I guess
Now
I'm just used to television that doesn't do that. So, sorry, go ahead, Karen.
No, I was just going to say now is a really good time to do a rewatch because you have until July till the next movie comes out.
Isn't Loki
There is
Loki's in
television.
June.
is Loki next?
Yeah.
Yes, but
I'm just
as
making
far
sure,
as the movies go, the next one is in June.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good time to be a nerd. Anywho, what else you got, Chris? Karen?
Well,
What's
I
the
mean,
big thing?
Yes, so great time to be a nerd with superheroes, and that was all great. And then Karen had me watch the first episode of Teenage Bounty Hunters. And I thought it was pretty damn good, so I stuck with it.
Nice.
And we watched the whole show, and I freaking loved it.
Really?
It was so good.
Okay. Wow,
Like-
that was a maniacal giggle.
Yeah, Karen, what are your thoughts here?
I don't know. I'm just very happy to spread the joy that is that show, even though it's a little bit evil of me to do so because the way it ends, it's disappointing that there isn't any more.
Yeah, huge disappointment that show is toast, because wow, was that show good. I was so super into it. It was really interesting. It was really well told. It was very funny. It was super interesting, man. I don't know what
And it
else
was really
to say.
smart about all the
Is
things
it American Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
That's a rarity for it
Came out-
only to get one season. Netflix usually does that. Gives it
Yeah.
more than one.
Yeah.
Think it had something to do with COVID.
Oh, goddamn
Gotcha.
COVID.
Huge bummer. Like almost on the same tier bummer of like, we'll never get that last season of Glow. This is another one of those like, man, you gave this to me and then you just took it away. That's not okay, man.
Characters are all great. I love the way they deal with like situations these characters are in and the way you would expect someone who is this type of person to react to something versus how these kids actually do because they have brains and like they think about things and they don't just like follow the stereotypes that their characters fit into. And it's so excellent.
It was just a
check it out.
refreshing and wonderful show. It's so clever. It's so funny. And I'm so sad that it's toast because it was great. I was so... I mean, I saw the trailer for it and I thought, this looks pretty good. This looks like it's going to be very clever and very good. And I just was not at all prepared for how good it was when we sat and watched it together. It was just... all the characters were super interesting. I really wanted to see where it went from there because, like, there's... God, I mean, I don't even know where to begin. There was all this like tangled web of things that kept getting more and more complicated as the show went, and then like they wrapped up some things. I seriously had a moment at the end where like there's a big plot twist at the end, and I actually like did the open my mouth and looked at Karen like, what?
I really enjoyed.
You were agog.
I was
I really
agog.
enjoyed that reaction.
Aw.
I mean, seriously, watch this show. I mean, prepare yourself to be upset that there's not going to be any more of it, but it's on Netflix. If you have a Netflix account, it's a single season. It's super addictive. It's great. I just loved it. And the whole time I'm watching it, the one of the two sisters was bothering me because I couldn't picture what I knew her from. And I looked her up and I didn't know her from anything, but she reminded me so much of somebody from another show, and I couldn't place it until earlier today. She reminded me of the director guy's daughter on Glow.
Oh, okay.
Just physically reminded me of her and her mannerisms. Like, that's what I know her from, even though it's not what I know her from at all. But that's who she was reminding me of the whole time.
I just got so disappointed in myself because I realized I haven't finished Glow. What is wrong with me? Anyway,
There's only so many hours in the day.
that's fair.
You'll get around to it someday. In the meantime, I was just blown away by Teenage Bounty Hunters of all things. Like, what a ridiculous name, but
I wasn't sure it was going to be an easy sell for him either. Like, teen shows are not always his thing.
Right.
No. This one was
Unless
just
they have some sort of powers.
Right.
This one hit all the marks. It was just clever and fun and funny, and I enjoyed it.
And just to clarify, it's not that things are left unresolved and that's what's disappointing. It's just that there is a big reveal at the very end of the last episode, and you're like, this is a whole lot of new information. I sure wish I got to know how these characters, like, proceeded with this new piece of information, because it's pretty life-changing.
So it wasn't a cliffhanger per se. It was a
No,
hey,
it's
we
not a
could go through-
cliffhanger. It's
No.
just like a bombshell.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man, I really want to know what they do with this information. And there was another piece of information where, like, the one girl's dad came back, and like that was going to lead to some shit, and I never get to see what that shit is, and I'm very upset about that. Usually not upset about not seeing shit, but
Yeah, well, happens.
Where shit?
What
We
shit?
don't see
Where
shit.
see shit?
So, out of curiosity, does Netflix ever like come back to shows? Like, do they ever like revisit? Is there a possibility that maybe it could get picked up again?
I don't know.
Technically,
I don't think there's any
anything is-
precedent for it.
Yeah, there's
technically
no
anything is
precedent, and
possible.
it might be hard because given the age of the cast, like if they were to come back to it in a couple of years, they'd have to do like a time jump or something because of the way the cast would have aged.
Because they are teenagers,
Yeah.
and they do look like teenagers, and they act like teenagers. But they act like smart teenagers, and that was, boy, that was dirt. There were moments in that show that were so super unexpected just because of how smart they were and how like reasonable characters were. Like the mom is painted to be this just absolute monster in the beginning, and the whole she stuck out like a sore thumb to me. Like, man, she's just awful. She's up to something. Like something's wrong. And then one of the girls did something, because another one of my absolute favorite things about this is how it just lampoons the ever-loving shit out of religion. Just constantly points out, because the whole thing takes place with these girls who are in this family of very, very religious people, and they go to a super religious school, and how so many problems arise from the just sheer unbridled stupidity and ancientness of forcing this kind of religion on people. And they point this out so often on how problematic it can be to people's development to be in that kind of a situation where your basic instincts as a human are just constantly taught to be ignored, and what kind of a person that turns you into. Like, she has one of the girls has this boyfriend in the beginning, and she convinces him to sleep with her, and that became this whole thing where I thought the guy was going to snap and kill somebody by the end. I thought he was just going to go absolute bug nuts postal, because he has been so conditioned throughout his entire life because of the church and how the church views people and how you have to put up these appearances for God and Jesus and all that stuff, to completely ignore this part of who he is as a human. And once he had those feelings let go, or he had no idea how to handle them. He had no idea how to handle them, and nobody to talk to about it. And it was heartbreaking to watch him go through that, but also presented in such a funny way. Like, it really walked that fine line between being serious and being hilarious, and it did a great job of handling, well, now we're going to bring some important feelings in here, and now we're going to just be silly, because that guy was played for some serious comedy. But at the same time, you look at him and really feel for him, like, this guy's an idiot, like, and that's the joke. This guy's a fucking moron. But part of why he's a moron is actually really sad and kind of disturbing. So it makes you feel stuff. I don't know. I was just so impressed by this show's intelligence the whole time. Just completely and totally impressed by it.
Cool.
Yay, I win. So often I like things and I'm like, I want to share this with someone. I don't think Chris will like it though. So I was happy to be wrong on that score. Not that I didn't think he would like it, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to make that suggestion and be like, yes, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you win.
Always feels like a win. I can transition right over to another teen show that I don't think would be your bag, which I think, Angie, you said you watched, which is Ginny and Georgia.
Yeah, I just kind of fell off of it and didn't finish it. How are you doing with it?
Oh, I just finished it last night. I stayed up a little late to finish it, and I loved it.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Worth finishing?
I didn't, unconditionally love it.
Yeah.
There were definitely some problems. But overall, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Okay.
What can you tell me where you stopped and what made you,
the last episode I watched was the one where the mayor, I think it was, babysat her kid. And then he finds the credit cards that she applied for in her son's name. And she just, kind of squishes her tits together and cries a little and goes, oh my God, my ex-husband did this and now he's in jail for fraud. And I'm like, dude, just use your brain. Just think about it a little bit. Maybe check this out. I did like the way he handled that situation because I actually turned to Evan and I was like, he was walking through the room and I was like, honey, look, someone actually called HR to handle a situation in a mature, professional, and proper manner when they had a problem with a person in the workplace. Holy shit. So even
you love to see it.
I just like the television, even though it was a television show and I know it's not real life, but just a lot of people get their perceptions of real life from television. So to see that represented, I was just fuck yes, thank you for this. And I know that she's a total fucking con artist, but I do feel some part of this, I've just been waiting for it to implode on her. And some part of me is kind of rooting for her to go down as a villain because she's just so manipulative.
I love that, what you just said about TV shows never do that thing where rational adults handle things like rational adults.
Yeah.
And it's so rare that it happens, and when it does, you just want to stand up and cheer.
Yeah.
And honest to God, one of the weirdest instances that I can think of where that happened was in the second season of Iron Fist.
Oh, God. I just told Evan we should finally watch that show.
What's this we?
God damn it. Yeah, but I won't do it without you because I just don't want to fucking do it. I can't. Danny Rand is such a garbage fire. I know it gets better, but I just don't believe it.
Check this shit.
Okay.
There's a scene where, what's her face? I've already forgotten her name. I can't remember which one of them was going to go off and do something stupid because that was Danny's MO
Just
in the first season, right? It's
yeah.
I'm going to go do something stupid.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you shouldn't go do something stupid. And then he goes and does something stupid anyway.
Right.
And, oh, look, consequences. Because you went and did something stupid.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of my own action.
Exactly. In season 2, they're both, living together. And one of them says, I'm going to go do something stupid. And the other one's like, look, I'm going to back your play no matter what, but how about we just talk this through to conclusion? And then they did. And then they didn't go do something stupid. And I was like, what the hell just happened?
Yes.
What am I going to do?
It was
with television
amazing.
now?
That is fucking awesome. And I get it. I know television is not, you need some aspect of drama to drive your stories. I get that, but there are so many different ways to do that without just making people fucking stupid. And this was very refreshing, and that instance is also very refreshing. Maybe enough to really just put me over the edge and make me watch this goddamn second season.
What Chris
You
neglects.
just have to see it. It's I'm not saying it's the most amazing television. It's just, how did you get from point A to point B? And could you do that more?
So here's the thing. What Chris neglects to tell you is right after that scene, it was credits, final. The show never came back. It was done.
Right?
They broke something in the timeline, and they just couldn't be allowed to come back.
They
Yes.
went, okay. All right, we saw this.
But what you're saying about people reacting reasonably and doing things the way they should instead of doing it for drama's sake. I feel like this show did that a lot. A good example of it is how they dealt with like the teenagers' sex lives. There was one part in the beginning that I was like, that would never happen. But for the most part, it was like, instead of just portraying it as like, oh, people just do it and everybody knows what to do and it's always great. It was like, no, it's awkward and sometimes people have different feelings about it and then they think they want to, but then they change their mind before it happens and nobody's mad about it. It's just like reasonable and nobody's like stupid and date rapey about it. And I was like, I like you, show. Thank you for not like
treating me like an adult.
I don't know about anyone else, but I definitely had some warped ideas about like sex and relationships from what I saw on TV.
Oh, for
And,
sure. I learned my
I grew
stuff
up on
from.
Married with Children. My perception of everything was totally fucked up.
I was gonna say
Right?
Married with Children and Buffy. I was never gonna come out of that okay.
So that was definitely nice to see from this show. And the friendships too, like the friendships of the four girls. You know, there were times when like everybody was like ignoring the one friend and they got into a huge fight over it. And then like instead of it being the end of the entire group, it was just like, okay, now we're gonna like realize that we're all being stupid and we don't even have to like you know, hash it all out and have the big like, I'm sorry because I did XYZ and I should blah blah blah. It's like, that's boring. Like, let's just skip to the part where everybody knows they're being stupid, but these girls have been friends for a really long time, and so they're just gonna be like, okay, you're going through some shit and you did something stupid and you clearly feel bad about it and it's over and we don't need to talk about it. And like that never happens on TV shows either.
Yeah, I did think they were doing a lot of good things with the writing regarding character relationships and interactions. I think I just like was struggling a little bit because I don't like, it's weird. I don't like Georgia, but I like Georgia. I don't like her character. I don't like what she represents, but I love how powerful she is and that she just takes what she wants, but she does it by fucking people over. And then I just go back to, I don't fucking like you, and now I feel very conflicted about you. And
well, I don't know specifically what you're referring to, but I feel like the people she fucks over deserve to be fucked over.
maybe like I know her ex-husband, like, you know, well, there was the guy who, like, the show starts out where the guy died and it's very clear that she poisoned him. Or very clearly indicated that she poisoned him, not necessarily clearly proven, because the show could be directly intentionally misleading. Then there's another one who's in prison for fraud when you know that she's the one doing that, and then she like kind of just studies and manipulates people all around her all the time. And I think the only person that I felt like okay with the way that she was with the relationship was the gay guy who worked with her in the office, because he called her on her shit, and then they just kind of came to this like weird truce / like frenemy type deal, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of cool with this. But everything else I really just feel like she's like manipulating people constantly. Like that's how she survives.
I will agree with you. She definitely does that, but she also has the clear motivations that I backed when I found out what they were for the things. Like the first husband that they showed, I don't know that you maybe got to that point, but they explained why she did what she did, and she was 100% justified. And there is a moment that happened in the last episode. It's just like, I just laughed out loud. I was like, you know how people on the internet say like, you're right and you should say it.
Yeah.
Like, it was not something she said, but something she did, but that was the feeling it gave me. It was like, you're right and you should say it. You definitely, like, what you did was 100% exactly what should have been done.
Okay.
It was awesome in the best way.
And that's the thing, like, where I was in the show, you know, she's calling this guy, like, get me my money. I'm supposed to get my money from his life insurance. And, like just, you know, taking out the credit card in her son's name. Like, I understand she has to make ends meet, but she's also, like, living in this way that's obviously above her means because she has this expectation. But, like, why does she have this expectation? Oh, because she killed someone to get their life insurance money. Like, that's the way that this was all presenting to me. And I was like, even her kids are, like, you know, looking at her like, yeah, she just manipulates men. Like, that's, you know, and then this thing with the mayor, and I don't think I got far enough to see how it all plays out, but they made me feel strongly enough about her that I just wasn't sure I wanted to continue watching a show that told me her story.
They definitely, like, tease out her backstory and her motivations and what's going on with her throughout the whole series. But by the time you find out everything about her, you're like, yep, I'm 100% Team Georgia.
Okay.
And she's not perfect either. She does some things that I'm like,
yeah.
like, I wish she wouldn't have done that. And her kids too, like, you know, it's not great. Like, she does lie to her kids and, you know, do things that you wouldn't do as a parent. But there also comes a point where she and Ginny kind of have a reckoning, and she's like, you're such a liar, you know, all you do is lie and blah, blah, blah. And Georgia, like, to her credit, is like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to tell you the truth now. And she tells her things that she didn't know. And, you know, Ginny understands a lot about who her mother is, why she does the things she does, and what it's like to be an adult in the position that Georgia is in, and to have to make the choices that she made. So,
all right, well, maybe I'll come
I would
back
recommend
to it.
continuing with it. I think it's a worthwhile journey.
Cool. All right.
The other thing that I watched really quick, like, while I was mostly while I was working on a really rush commission, I rewatched the entire series of The Good Place, which, you know, we've talked about it before. It's a great show. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I will say it's highly rewatchable, just because some of the shocks and the reveals that, you know, you get when you watch it the first time won't be there if you remember what happened. The jokes still really work. Everything is still really enjoyable. When I watched it for the first time, I was listening to the podcast that they did alongside of it with Mark Evan Jackson as the host, and so, like, all the stories from that podcast that they told about, like, the making of, I had those in my head as I'm rewatching it and going, oh, like, this, I remember what they said was happening when they shot this scene. That was awesome.
Neat.
And one thing I noticed that they did that I don't think I've ever noticed any other show do before. It was so small and subtle, but it was so gratifying. When a character is talking to another character and there's no other characters in the room, and the one who's talking is a man, and he's talking to a woman, and he's giving, like, third person pronoun examples, he uses she. Like, if you were saying, let's say there's a guy and he's walking, let's say there's a person and they're walking down the street, like, that the writers made it a woman because he's talking to a woman. So, like,
such a
Chidi is
small
teaching
thing.
a lesson to Eleanor, and he's like, you know, if she does X, then she, you know, this philosophy believes that she will get Y. And it's like, hey, he said she because he's talking to a she. And, like, it was just the tiniest thing, but thank you, writers. Thank you, show, for, like, it doesn't always have to be he. You can use she as, like, the, you know, example pronoun sometimes.
Yeah, that's actually I think probably a detail that people often overlook. So it's nice to know that, like, you as a person who's been doing this podcast for however long, 230 50 something episodes.
Yeah.
On a similar story, did you guys hear about the whole ending of WandaVision?
What?
There was an interview with Kevin Feige that because somebody asked him about the whole rumor that Benedict Cumberbatch was supposed to show up at the end of WandaVision, and they were like, "Yeah, we wrote that whole thing in."
They even had a deal with him.
They even had a deal with him, figured that in place that he was going to show up in the last episode, and then they realized that it kind of undermined everything to be like, okay, well let's bring in the white guy and to tell the woman how to handle power, and we were like, yeah, let's just not do that. I was like,
Wow.
well,
I'm like, I just Google searched it, and it from CNET it says Doctor Strange cameo cut from WandaVision to avoid white guy saving the day.
yeah,
No mansplaining to be found here.
yeah, and like that's gonna have to happen at some point, but it would have undermined the end of that show so much. Like, she's got to learn from somebody, and he's the Sorcerer Supreme. But
How did it end? Oh, she was hulking
was
it.
in it, yeah.
She was Bruce Bannering it out into the woods in a cabin.
yeah, and kind of like teaching herself some shit. And I thought that was really cool and a very valid point. Like, if they had done that, then it would have been like, all right, the big name white guy showed up and taught her how to handle power, and that just would have kind of been crappy. So good on you, show.
Nice.
I guess, yeah, that's, I don't know. I sometimes I just feel like an ignorant asshole because I'm like, he's the Sorcerer Supreme. Like, to me, that wouldn't have bothered me because, like, that's...
And that's funny. And then at that point, I'm the comic book nerd that would have gone, oh my God, they put in Doctor Strange. Like,
Yeah,
that's,
like, I
and I
didn't-
wouldn't have looked at it that way either.
yeah.
So
No, absolutely. I wouldn't have seen it that way either, but now that it's been pointed out, I can see why some people would have seen it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that's the inevitability. She's still going to have to learn from him. It's just, it'll happen in the movie instead of in that TV show where they
Like,
let
that's her show.
Yeah, that's her show.
Let that part happen in his movie.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
that makes a lot more sense.
yeah.
Okay,
Like, similar
I
to
don't-
what we were talking about before. It didn't happen, but it's gonna, and it's just a matter of finding the best place to do it. And I think that was a really smart way of handling it.
I feel less bad about myself now. Thank you. No, because I'm always that person who's like, oh, I didn't really think it was a big deal. And then it's like, oh, well, neither did I. But, like, that's a very good point of, oh, hey, but now that you see it. I think that's kind of the thing that happened with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I'll send you, if you have any interest in reading it, like, I'll send you an article just to show you someone who was able to articulate some of the points better than I was, because I found myself agreeing with some of them. But the article I'm going to send you, to be clear, has a reference to not liking Sam Wilson as Captain America, and I will never fucking go with that because I thought he was wonderful.
Yeah, he was great. He nailed it.
So,
And there's a lot of people hating it for the sake of hating it. There's a lot of MCU hate going on right now because they just released that trailer and they've got all this new stuff coming out, and it's not a bunch of movies starring white dudes. And, well, there's a lot of white dudes out there that are taking some pretty serious issue with that.
Wait a minute. You're telling me there's a lot of angry white dudes on the internet?
Right? I know. It's crazy. But woke Marvel is like a thing, man. It's a... Man, woke Marvel is just going to ruin everything.
sorry.
it was funny because earlier today I started to feel bad about something that I was saying because I'm excited to see Shang-Chi, whatever
Words are hard.
the subtitle is. But I hate Aquafina. Like, I don't want to see her in that movie because...
Well, tough shit. She's in it.
She is, and she's going to be front and center of everything. Like, that's the part about her character that she plays is she's always so much out there, and I wanted this to be...
Well, let's clarify something. Evan has this thing, like, sometimes there are just people who are too much for Evan, and she is one of those people, and, like, I think it's not...
It started with the name.
Who
names themselves Aquafina?
Like, there's just certain choices that people make, but it's really just about, like, sometimes people's presence overwhelm Evan. And this is one of those cases where when he sees her on screen, she overwhelms him. And that's just it.
I don't know that I've seen her in anything.
Chris is like that with Tracy Morgan. Anything
Yeah.
that Tracy Morgan is in, Chris is like, oh, I'm out.
And do you
But-
feel borderline racist about that, Chris? No, I just don't like Tracy Morgan.
No, it's Tracy Morgan. I feel the same way about Will Ferrell.
But I think the thing that is going to be the saving grace about Shang-Chi with Awkwafina is it's not Awkwafina being Awkwafina. It's Awkwafina being this Marvel character. Like, will she still be probably a lot? Yeah, but I think it'll be at least toned down some.
I hope so, because she voiced the dragon in that last animated movie.
Raya the Last Dragon.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was Awkwafina, the last dragon.
Well,
That's what it was. So
that's a Disney movie.
She was the dragon? I thought she was...
she was the voice of the last dragon.
Huh. I felt like I remember there being like some sort of controversy that the voice of the dragon was a white lady.
No, it was Awkwafina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a little bit much even for me, but I still loved that movie because
Oh, I enjoyed
Disney.
that movie as well.
Yeah.
Oh, and the thing I was going to say to Angie is that you shouldn't feel bad that you didn't, that it didn't occur to you right off the bat that having Doctor Strange in that situation would be bad, because it's called internalized misogyny, and like society has taught you to not recognize that stuff like that.
Well, that's a conversation for a whole nother day, but let me tell you, dear listeners,
Podcast for another podcast.
I have internalized a shitload of that misogyny because I am the slowest to recognize that stuff.
It's okay. That's why we're here. We love you.
My intentions are good, but the problem is, like, that's not enough for people anymore. So, just feel free to message me and educate me, because I do
why would
like
you
to
do
get
that to yourself?
educated. Because I know I've literally had people do this. I have a Twitch channel. I've literally invited people to do this. I have debates with people on my Twitch channel about these kinds of things. Like, I like to start conversations and get educated about topics and get people having conversations, because I think a lot of people are scared. But that's not a conversation for a television podcast. So, Evan, what you been watching?
All right, so I'm going to cruise through, because we've been watching a lot of television together, which is kind of weird, because normally we don't have a lot of time to watch stuff together. But we are caught up on a bunch of shows. We caught up on Zoe, which is fantastic. That show keeps getting better and better.
I'm not caught up. Damn it.
I mean, okay, so we have the most current episode left, which just came out, like, I think yesterday.
Yeah, like we're always a little bit behind when it comes out right before this show, like right before we record.
So Zoe, we're caught up on Rookie, which is another phenomenal show. We're trying to get through Invincible. We watched a bunch of. We're caught up on The Nevers. I think we got one left of that just came out.
Have you watched any of that yet?
Nope.
Okay.
We watched a crap ton of Fixer Upper.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed with that. That was like the weirdest nerd laugh I've ever nerd laughed.
We
but,
watched a
oh my god.
season plus in like a 3-day span. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, last week. Okay, so this is how we television. Usually on Tuesdays, it's like I will work at least a half a day. Evan will be recording a podcast for a few hours, and then we'll like run errands or do whatever we have to do, and then we'll sort of settle. And if we're not recording the episode, with you guys around 6 or 7 o'clock, we'll finally like sit down together, maybe watch a little television. I'll still keep working for most of the night, whatever. And then Wednesdays is like supposed to be our day to just give zero fucks. And like the choice we made last week on Tuesday night, we were like, oh yeah, let's catch up on some TV and we'll watch some movies and whatever. And then all day on Wednesday, we just started watching Fixer Upper, and I couldn't turn it off. I was like, I do not want to watch anything else. Like, this is it. This is what I want. I want all of this. Give me every show that's ever existed like this. I want this and only this. And I have a problem, you guys. It's bad. My friend
It's
just
not,
bought a
though.
house.
I remember going through a phase like that in my life where it was like every like organization show and every redecorating show.
So and those two are
I still do
appealing
that.
to me, because I like seeing homes being remodeled and all that stuff. But I love the relationship of Chip and Joanna.
Joanna.
Like I can't.
JoJo.
I can't remember their last name. I'm like blanking on it.
Gaines.
Yeah.
I love their relationship, and Chip is one of my favorite things to show up on television as of late because he is such an idiot. Like
Evan laughs really hard at him, and it just makes me giggle.
and it's not with him. I am laughing at him, like actively at. So we enjoyed the crap out of that. I have caught up on Last Man Standing, so I had to find another show, another sitcom type show to watch, as I'm getting ready for work or whatnot, and I found American Housewife.
I've seen a little bit of it. I liked it.
Okay, I'm all in on this show. I mean, the cast is great, but Dietrich Bader
Yeah.
is like an unsung hero to me because he makes me laugh. He is the straight man of the group, and he makes me laugh out loud because the things he says. He voiced Batman in something, and when
Batman Brave and the Bold.
there it is. And
Chris just coming
when
in.
he says the ridiculous things or my brain sort of shows me Batman, and I love his relationship with his wife. They got 3 kids. One of them's the oldest is all into sports. The middle boy is kind of a douchebag.
He's a capitalist.
He's a capitalist douchebag. And then their youngest girl has a lot of OCDs and whatnot. And it's all about them dealing
Sounds
with
like a collection OCDs.
Well, she's and a cat. That's her thing. Like they moved to this town to be in this school that has a great teacher that will help her in her, becoming part of a functioning society kind of thing. And it's the mother character in this show, it's just
She's kind of a douche.
she's kind of a douche, but she says the things. Her name is Katie. She says the thing. Okay, so she has an inner monologue. So she says the things that we all think, and then says the things that inevitably we all say because it's not the thing that we thought. We modified it, and it's borderline refreshing to see that in a show like this. It's just a lot of fun. And apparently in season 2, she has become part of the PTA, and she is now setting up for the spring event. And her spring event is Bollywood themed, and she's going to have all of this stuff going on. And the big finale is they're going to have elephants draped in, I think she said, taffeta. And who's going to be riding that elephant is Nathan Fillion. And I'm like, I can't wait to see if that episode happens. But it's for me, 22 minutes, really, really entertaining. I'm kind of glad I found it. It's a nice, a suitable replacement for that bite-sized television that I like to watch. That I also did. Okay, I came across. So I don't know how we all feel about Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, in here. I know I loved the show.
Loved it.
Okay, so there are 5 episodes out of a show called Bird Girl.
Right, yeah. Found out about that myself.
And it has the same feeling. It has the same soul as Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. It is Bird Girl. She is 7 has died, and he has left 7 and 7 to Bird Girl because and he left control of the law firm to Bird Girl, but his controlling stock or shareholdings to Jane, his daughter. So they're still alluding to the fact that he did not know that Jane was not Bird Girl. And it's Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. They're not shoehorning other Hanna-Barbera characters in it, but it is the same, the law firm cast, the hippo, and they have representations of all of those people, and it's a lot of fun. I'm kind of surprised at how much I'm enjoying it. I really thought it was going to fall flat, but they did a good job with it. And what else? What did we watch today?
Wipeout.
Well, the one with the girl exploding in light. Shadow and Bone.
Oh, we haven't watched that yet.
Yeah,
that's next on our list.
That's our next show. We just didn't want to start something brand new before the show
We watched one episode of that so far, and I enjoyed it.
I was surprised that you liked it too, because I felt like it was very much up my alley more than it was up yours. But you're also watching The Nevers with me, so I'm just like, fuck it. I'll take whatever I can get because this is amazing.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
You said up yours.
I did.
So, are you watching anything other than that, honey, when I'm not around?
Oh, yeah. I like that led into it. Okay, so actually, funny that it kind of has that theme, right? So this is all about like magical girls, essentially, like this fantasy sort of genre, but that's actually a kind of like Japanese genre where they do this. It's inspired by the whole like Sailor Moon phenomenon and how it culturally affected everything. So now one of my dear friends, Chelsea, decided to recommend an anime to me, and I finally caved and watched it, and it's called Madoka Magica, or also known as Puella Madoka Magica, which I can't even finish saying. So Madoka.
I feel like you added too many words in that.
They added too many words in it. Stop overcomplicating things. I'm a dumb American. So yeah, I've been watching this. It's only a 12 episode anime, and I have had to force myself not to binge the entirety of this show because I tried to watch it in English and could not. I hated the voice acting. So I was watching it in Japanese, which requires me to watch with subtitles and not work while I'm watching. But we decided to do like an anime night, and we watched like 2 episodes, and then I was like, one more. And then I was like, one more. And then I was like, one more. And she was like, I have to go to bed. But it's really cool. I haven't watched an anime in so long, and it feels like this one, they do some really weird and genuinely creepy things with it, because they take this premise of these girls who are high school girls, and the main character and her best friend end up experiencing these magical girls who fight witches, and the witches plant seeds of despair, which are the reason why people do bad things like committing suicide or hurting others, or things of that nature. And it's the job of the magical girls to kind of track this down, but you find out that like they don't necessarily do it because they're altruistic. They do it because they want power, and they get power from killing witches. So it's like this thing where sometimes they actually fight each other, and the thing that like imbues everybody with power grants one wish to the person who's going to become a magical girl. It's like a contract, and this thing is like one of those cute little plushy looking animals, but like I secretly think it's evil, and I don't know yet.
Waiting for that shoe to drop.
Yeah, and it just feels like it's kind of one of the things I think that I've been experiencing a lot in American television is I feel like when they want to deal with an issue, sometimes I feel like they kind of beat us over the head with it. And I feel like with this, they're kind of weaving a bigger picture into this whole story. And once it all comes together, there's going to be some sort of like social commentary, or like at least commentary on this concept that they're creating within this show. And you're just going to have this kind of aha moment. And I love that because it lets you think about it. And they do it with subtlety and excellence. So I'm really enjoying it. I haven't finished it yet. It's kind of my treat for when I accomplish something work or wedding related that I've been putting off. So that's been like the main thing that I've been going to. And then as far as other stuff that I'm watching, still going on Castlevania, loving that, on season 2 now. It's very fun. I like the way that it started out with the generals, but now also like the 3 main characters, the protagonists that are like hanging out with each other and just bickering. And then, yeah, our watch of Invincible, I think that was pretty much it. Everything else that I've been watching has been, I don't know. I watch a little bit of baking show.
I forgot to mention that I also caught, 4 or 5 episodes of Superman and Lois.
Yeah.
Like I tried to watch a bunch of that, and I've never.
Yeah, how is that?
I've never experienced a CW superhero show being boring. Like, okay, so
Chris and I are confused.
The big thing about Superman movies is they're always a land scheme. Like, that's the villain's thing. Like, I got to get land for this thing. And no shit, they sort of did that in this television show. Like, I didn't see it coming because the first episode they had this big battle of a dude in a suit, and I'm like, oh, we're going to go superhero, cool. And then all of a sudden this Lex Luthorian guy shows up in Smallville, and he's buying land. I'm like, are you shitting me? Really? And the whole time Superman's being a borderline bad dad because he's being a dad to the whole world. I mean, it's boring. And I was slightly disheartened. So, can't win them all.
Bummer.
Yeah. Well, anime, not boring.
Superman has really whiny kids too.
I
You
caught
saw
a little
that.
of that, yeah. But yeah, that's kind of it for me. I watched some more Unsolved Mysteries because I'm a total wacko.
You watch Kindred Spirits with me every night, and then you fall asleep on it.
I can't because I want it to go away.
It's
Honestly,
a boring
it's such
show,
a
but
weird show.
I can't fall asleep unless I have some sort of paranormal kind of show
I
on.
don't know.
It's weird.
When we started dating, it was like, let's watch the Lego movie, and now it's like ghost stories. I'm like, how did this happen? But also,
I do
yes.
fall asleep to the Lego. Once I shut the TV off, I listen to the Lego movie because the TV bothers you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, we have.
What's the password? Iron Man sucks. It's one of my nephews and nieces' favorite jokes from Lego Batman.
That's awesome.
Like, they don't even get it. They just think it's funny.
Every now and then, I just start going, darkness, no parents.
No parents.
And people will be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, listen, I don't need to explain it. If you don't get it, you're just not cool.
I call them my dogs. Listen to them bark. Such a good
I'm
movie.
sorry for everything. Okay, so yeah, now that we've ranted about a lot of things that probably didn't make sense, or hopefully some of them did and they interested you guys, I think it's time for a break. I need one.
We need a break.
Yeah, it's definitely break time.
We need to
All right,
read some
sweet.
commercials.
Yeah, let's do some commercials. We'll be back, guys. Don't leave us. We've got stuff to talk about. It's pretty massive. You might say it's an expanse of things. The Expanse. Okay. BRB.
And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com.
First up, after 50 episodes, it seems that we here at Geekade must say goodbye to our tabletop gaming podcast, You Shall Not Pass Go. Yes, we have been informed that the newly released 50th episode is going to be the last. Alex joins Dave to say goodbye and chat about Magic the Gathering Arena, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Mortal Kombat, and Disney World. Wow, those are some topics. But wait, what's that I hear? Is that hope on the horizon? Yes, it is. With You Shall Not Pass Go coming to an end, a new podcast shall rise in the form of a permanent team-up between Dave and Alex called DNA, Nerd-Blooded. Get it? DNA, Dave and Alex.
Oh God, I didn't.
It
Until you
works on
said it.
so many levels.
And you can't even blame it for me. You
Yeah,
can't
no.
even blame me. I didn't do it.
This is the best podcast title ever. Anyway, be sure to check out You Shall Not Pass Go episode 50, The End, and look forward to the premiere of DNA Nerd Blooded in the not too distant future.
Next, speaking of new podcasts, Geekade now has a movie podcast dedicated to movies. It's called A Theater Near You. And it's hosted by Chris and two of his oldest friends, Paul Giroux and the Sean Doyle. Once a month, the trio of movie lovers will alternate watching new movies hot off the presses and old movies in alphabetical order. For their premiere episode, they watched the brand new Mortal Kombat movie. And they have a variety of thoughts and feelings, which is good because if they didn't, it wouldn't be much of a podcast. Check out A Theater Near You, Episode 1, Mortal Kombat, available now. And don't forget to watch along with them for their next episode, 2010's The A-Team?
Yes, winning.
Why?
Why not?
It's an amazing film.
Is it because it's A? Like, is that the first movie ever made in the list?
That's a big part of it. Is that A? That's where we're starting, but also that movie rules.
think he's trying to fly a tank. I mean, come on.
Oh my god.
I love it.
All right. Finally, returning from their brief hiatus, Sparkcast hasn't returned with another round of hilarious toy bios. This time, they're reading the official descriptions of the original 1985 Constructicons and Devastator. Each new bio is more absurd than the last, which, as you can imagine, means the absurdity flows like energon by the end of the show. Don't miss Sparkcast Episode 43 Toy Bios, the Constructicons and Devastator.
That was a tongue twister.
I really thought about swapping that to give it to Evan, but I wanted to give Evan the opportunity to talk about Sean Doyle.
And I appreciate that greatly.
For all this
Did I say that right? Energon?
Energon, yeah.
Okay.
Energon Cubes. For all this great content, Energon Cubes, and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on geekade.com.
And we're back. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Did you enjoy those commercials? I know you did, because we enjoyed recording them for you. Okay, so here's the deal. We're talking about a television show called The Expanse. I did actually bother to look up the name of the first episode, but I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's Dulcinea.
Thank you.
Is that a dance?
You're a
It's
dance.
the name of the heroine from The Man of La Mancha.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is going to be a topic we bring up with this show tonight because I felt like they had little references to things in like the titles, like the names of stations or like ships or et cetera, et cetera. So I'm wondering if you guys who are cultured and educated will have picked up on anything.
New people here? Wait.
Ye smart people. So, Chris, Karen, Evan, I want to hear everybody's thoughts. Just a reminder, listeners, this was a recommendation from my friend Justin. So if you don't like it, you tell Justin to suck it. Okay. How'd we feel?
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I mean, look, I'm not saying that it wasn't interesting in any way, shape, or form. It was just a show about miserable people being miserable in space. And that was the whole thing. Like,
Space
check
misery.
this guy. Yeah, I'm miserable. Yeah, you know what? I'm miserable too. Hey, man, I hate my fucking job, man. I'm miserable. Yeah, me too, man. This is miserable. Oh, shit. These rich people make me miserable. I'm miserable. Fuck everything. Everything's awful all the time.
I have long
this is
bones
just
and I'm in
crazy.
gravity. I'm miserable.
We should go check out this, people might be dying here. I guess we should go check it out. I don't know, man. I'm pretty fucking miserable, and I just want to get to where I'm going so I can be miserable somewhere else. Like, that was the whole show. It was just like, everyone's pissed off. Nobody's happy about anything. Nobody wants to be happy about anything. It was just...
There was this
just
brief
misery.
glimmer of a possible point of someone saying something happening positively when she looked into the camera and says, "You need to know something," and then her
Yeah,
ship
and then she died.
it exploded.
And then everyone was miserable and dead.
Yeah, and that's... I was, like, vaguely interested by the end of it. I'm not going to say that I wasn't. It was just... I don't know. It just seemed like an awful lot of misery for the sake of misery, and that it just wasn't all that enticing. I was interested enough in the plot and the world that they built, but there was no silver lining. Like, what were these people working towards? What possible resolution could there be? Everybody was going home to their, like, maybe I could be slightly less miserable if I had a day off. Like, it was just like, I hate my job, I hate space, I hate people from Mars, I just hate everything all the time. And everyone, the only people that were having any fun were the two people that were space fucking, and that didn't even last all that long. So,
Listen, we came in at the end of the space fucking, okay?
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? As soon as that scene rolled up on screen, I said, Chris is going to make comment about the space fucking. He's going to look at us. We're floating in space. We're having sex.
well, it wasn't on SYFY, but it kind of felt like it was.
It is a sci-fi
It actually
show.
is. It's a
I was
SYFY.
gonna
Oh,
say
it's a
it felt
sci-fi
like
show?
one.
Yes.
They did the same fucking trick. That was the exact same thing in that other show.
So that was
Are
the
you
thing.
kidding me?
That's the thing. Like this show sort of.
Okay,
felt
see,
like
now
a
I'm
sci-fi
totally on
movie.
board. Now I know this is the move. So, like, are they going to do, like, a fish show next? And there's going to be, like, mermaids fucking underwater while floating? Like, where else can we do this? Like, we had magic people float fucking, and then we
Listen.
had 2 people space fucking. Like, I got to know what's next.
It's
I feel
mermaid.
like the
It's-
depths of the ocean are next.
It's mermaid. It's the time to make love in the sea. Okay.
They're going to have a Sequest DSV relaunch, and there's going to
Just-
be
You
some
know what is a
fucking-
question that no one on television has ever answered before? How do mermaids and mermen have sex?
right?
We need to know.
Sci-fi, you need to answer. These are the burning questions that deranged people need to know.
Anti-gravity sex, the future.
So that brings me to my question. Did you feel that, did you think the show felt like a sci-fi show?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
I was
just-
like, wait, this is on Amazon?
So do you
Yeah,
think it
because
looked...
that was the whole thing was throwing me off. Like, this is an Amazon show? Because, like,
But-
this feels sci-fi.
I feel like I remember hearing that this show was on Sci-Fi and it got canceled, and then Jeff Bezos bought it because he liked it so much, right?
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
Dude likes space fucking.
He likes space fucking.
So originally it was, if I'm not mistaken, 3 seasons on SYFY, or Sci-Fi as people call it. And then Amazon Prime picked it up for the 4th season, and as far as I know, it did get a 5th season, and it's supposed to get a 6th season, maybe. I don't know. I feel like COVID might be messing with it, but it says that, like, they started, according to Wikipedia, they started filming in late January of this year for the final season. To clarify for the listener, if you haven't watched the show, clearly it's a sci-fi show, but it's a series where it's in the future and humanity has colonized the solar system, and it's following, like, according to Wikipedia,
Colonize the solar system. They're really upset about it.
right? It follows a disparate band of protagonists. The United Nations Security Council member, I'm going to say this wrong, Christian Avasarala. Vasarala.
the woman.
I don't know. Yeah,
Sure,
that
it doesn't
woman.
matter.
A woman that sounds like she smokes 87 packs of cigarettes a day.
I love her voice, though. I don't know. There's just something about her.
She was in Punisher.
Was
Yeah.
she? Is that so? This is a return to form between Thomas Jane and her.
No, she was in the.
Wasn't she
Marvel,
in the
Marvel
show?
Netflix Punisher,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
which is like totally bugging me out because I'm like, well, wait a minute. She was in the Punisher, but like, that's the different Punisher. Because
So
there's
is
that.
Thomas
There's
Jane.
Thomas Jane Punisher, but he's not. This is blowing my mind.
From one
Why is
Punisher
everyone
to
so
another.
unhappy?
Yeah. So, basically,
It's
the series is set around a bunch of different people in a bunch of different locations around space, and so you're being introduced to a group that's on a spaceship that is hauling ice. You're introduced to the belt, which is basically you have 3 main forms of colonization. You have Earth, Mars, and the Belters.
God,
Earth
the
is
nicknames.
run.
It's
Yes.
the same fucking thing in that other show. Like, we got to come up with lingo for what we're gonna call these people that do this thing.
Right. And so in Earth, like Earth and the moon, Earth, like the moon is now Luna, but that is run.
Which let's be fair. I mean, calling it the moon is pretty fucking arrogant. It's a moon, all right. It's not the moon. Get over yourself, moon.
And that's why they renamed it, because Chris had that to say.
It makes so much sense.
And then Chris named the moon.
Tell me I'm wrong.
He,
Actually, I think the moon is actually called Luna.
Okay.
okay. There you
We
go.
just refer to it as the moon because we're arrogant fucks.
Y'all need some motherfucking science. All right.
Right.
So it's basically Earth, Mars, and the Belters are sort of all at odds, but Earth is run by the UN. Mars is an independent but also very violent nation, from what I'm understanding.
It's military.
And very militant, yes. And then The Belters are the people who, like, you know, they're the working class citizens who are constantly getting the shaft. And
In space.
in space.
Getting an old space shaft, huh?
You beat me to it, but yes.
Anti-gravity space shafting.
Oh, God. And yeah, so you just follow these different people around, and Thomas Jane, if you guys didn't already understand that we were talking about the Punisher, is some sort of weird detective ship's officer guy who, I don't know, is jaded as fuck. And he's looking for a girl who is introduced to us at the very, very beginning of the episode, and we don't know what happened to her.
So, but pause for a sec with that description. Let's. So when we were talking about this after watching the episode for a second time, we were like, "There's something. Is this suffering from pilot syndrome?" Where pilot syndrome is one of two things: either it takes too long to get the story going, or they shove too much story into one episode and everything gets sort of muddied. And this, I feel that this episode suffers from the latter, because there were like 912 storylines introduced in this 45-minute episode.
It wasn't even so much that there was technically like 3 storylines. It was Series Station, which also I watched an anime called Ayashi no Seres when I was younger, and it's spelled like that, and it was really bothering me that they have it spelled this way but pronounced series. Fuck you. Anyway, there was an ice hauler, the Canterbury, and then there's the UN Black Site and like Earth. Like there's really only 3 locations that we went to, and Earth was a very brief stay. The problem is that they weren't just throwing these storylines at you. They're throwing everything about this entire future world at you in this episode, and it really just, to me, it was jarring. The first time we watched it, I was like, I like shows that are a little heavy. I watch fucking Black Sails, and like this was too much for me. Like I was like trying to keep up. There was so much stuff I missed that the second time we watched it, I was actually taking notes to try and follow everything, because they would throw in, as Chris has mentioned, stupid terminology like these long-limbed people who grew up without a lot of gravity. They're called long bones. And like, I'm just...
And good on them for the show finding so many people of that stature. Like, they were all over this show.
They, I have to say, the special effects blew my fucking mind. I love the anti-gravity effects. I still, like, think of it like magic. The fact that they were able to put these people with these weird, disproportionate bodies, like, well, I guess proportionate to them, bodies that are elongated in the same space as somebody who has, like, our current standard of human proportions, and make it believable. But yeah, like they threw a lot of information at us, and in a way that it didn't really feel palatable or easily absorbed. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I didn't have any idea what was going on half the time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool,
and
cool,
not
cool.
only that, as I didn't care.
Yeah, there was not a lot of
didn't know-
compelling story.
yeah,
The only one that was mildly compelling was the Thomas Jane story arc.
And see, I thought
And he
the
got
ice
so
hauler
little of
guy, the guy at the end, I thought his story was more compelling. I thought Thomas Jane was actually kind of trite. Like, he was boring.
So Thomas Jane, the dirty cop, who is training a new officer, who's given a special assignment to find this rich person's missing daughter, who then borderline shows that he has some sort of heart because of things that he has left. Like, that's just a dude that we saw on screen for 10 minutes in total, maybe? Like, that's a lot of storyline for just one bit. And then on top of that, the part of the storyline that you're talking about is that the XO, the second in command of a ship that immediately became, well, actually, it was like third in command. Then within the first 4 minutes of right after space fucking, he became second in command. And then he became first in command because everybody else blew up.
Spoilers.
There's got to be some sort of civil war going on with the Belters. The way Christian, I'm not going to attend to, like, the way she's interrogating people that have wronged Earth. Like, there's a whole nother storyline going there. Mm-hmm. There's just so much, and I don't think any of them are done well enough to make me want to watch another episode.
Yeah, they didn't with so many sci-fi shows. They really, 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 really want to be Firefly, like just desperately. Like, oh, they have the brown coats, so we're gonna have the long bones. Like, there's got to be like they looked at Firefly and they said, all right, these are the things that made the show work. They're not, but they're the things that they think made the show work, and so they're gonna try and they're gonna try to tick all those boxes, but they don't have. They always miss that part of it that's the soul of the show, which was why it stuck around. Why it didn't stick around. Why it stuck around the collective consciousness. You know what I mean? Like, they don't focus on the things that actually made it work. It's like a bunch of people in a boardroom deciding, like, basically, let's make a show based on this Firefly show. We're going to do it from memory, from somebody that may have seen it once or twice in the past or something.
It's as if like they watched Firefly without the sound.
It was just as
Yeah.
cold
Like
and
they're just
sterile as
looking
space.
at pictures. Like, oh look,
And
there's a
like-
captain. There's a horror character. There's there's a guy that's funny. Wears
She's
Hawaiian
not
shirts.
a whore. She's a companion.
They don't know that because all they see is the pictures of her having sex with other people.
She's a classy lady. Actually,
I
she
love
never.
her. Inara is one of my favorites.
Yeah, she's
Anywho.
amazing. Sorry. Yeah. Wait, this isn't Firefly. So clearly,
Clearly not.
this is definitely not Firefly.
What was up with Thomas Jane's haircut?
Yeah, there's
It was
listen
an
that
unfinished
in and of
haircut.
itself. I was like, okay, well, you're always drunk. Maybe you tried to do it yourself. I don't know. Okay, so other thoughts and feelings about it. Was this just like a swing and a miss for you guys? Do you have any desire to give it another chance and go another episode in to see how it plays out?
No, none at all. This did
although
nothing for
it was
me.
nice to see Death from Supernatural and something else.
Right? Oh my God! Thank you for getting excited about that too, because
We
I did not want to be the only one to mention it.
You and I both did as well when he showed up on screen. I'm like, why? I know that guy.
Yeah, but when he felt, because he looks so frail, the scene where he like drops him in the airlock and sucks all the air out, I was like, when he fell in that scene, I was like, did he just break all the bones in his body? Because, oh my God, that man literally looks like death. Like,
I will give credit to the show. There were certain points, like certain things that I said, like that is an attention to detail that most shows would not pay attention to, like the floating in space stuff. Like it looks like they did that almost in like what is that, a parabolic plane, like because it really looks like, it doesn't look.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. It didn't look like wire work.
It didn't look like
looked
wire work.
they
Hairs were floating around and whatnot. Like that's attention to detail. But one thing that really got me, that was so detail oriented.
There it
Oriented?
is. Nailed it.
got it.
That in the where there was no gravity and they had to wear those magnetic boots. Anytime they were on screen, and even if they were in the area and someone was walking, you heard the noise of it disconnecting and reconnecting.
Yep.
As opposed to most shows would show it to you once and then make you assume that it was still happening. Like they wouldn't take the time to do that little bit. And that was like in the very beginning of the show. Like I'm like, oh, this is cool. They're paying attention to it. And then it just sort of went, whatever. That's fine. Let's throw all this other crap at it. And
Well, I think that
see
there's
what
definitely
sticks.
a good amount of attention to detail. I really do. I think the problem was that they threw too many of those details at us in one episode and did not give us room to breathe, figure it out, or process the information. Like they just hit the ground running.
This definitely should have been split either into 2 episodes,
Or like a longer pilot.
a longer pilot,
Yeah.
or like
Or they should have given us some reason to think that something was going to get better for somebody someday in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That was really my only gripe with it, is that they gave me no reason to think that there was anything positive ever going to happen other than like maybe somebody is going to be able to go home to their sad 1-bedroom apartment and like have a drink and like go to bed. That's
Well-
the best you're gonna get.
Thomas Jane got to feed that bird.
He did. He got to feed that. Got to feed a bird.
he did.
That's a good point. You know what? That turns it around.
I
you
said
go.
though, when I looked at it, I was like, even the birds look like shit on this show. Like
They
everyone
look
looks
haggard.
rough.
It looked like a haggard
Yeah.
bird.
Even the birds are haggard.
It wasn't overtly bad. Like it wasn't a horrible, like I didn't feel like I wasted my time. I was like, all right, this is not for me. It's just not clicking for me. You know, I can
Yeah, I
understand.
paused it towards the end of the episode because I had to like get up and get a drink or something, and then when I came back, I saw that there was 15 minutes left, and I paraphrased my favorite episode of Mystery Science Theater, and I said there's only about 15 minutes left to be likable. Do you think they can pull it off? The answer was no, they could not.
Yeah, it's.
I will say, for my feedback, I will actually give this another chance because after watching it the second time through and sort of knowing what's going on, because I've had to now watch this episode twice to fucking understand what's going on. Now that I do, I am curious to see where it goes. I'm not sure that it's going to be a show that really hooks me, but
I mean, it's lasted this long. There's got to be something interesting happening.
yeah,
I mean,
like my
It
friend
can't
who
just
Amazon.
all be sad people in space being sad.
my friend who recommended this show, like he really loves this show. He swears by it. He has very strong feelings about this show. And I asked him, I said, is there another episode that you could take out of context and watch? And he said, not really, because everything is constantly building on itself. And I was like, well, if this was this hard to break into, I don't even want to know what it would be like trying to watch something else in the future.
I would only hope that they have a different episode structure. Like, this first episode had 4 or 5 stories in it, where if the episode 2 was, primarily about the Thomas Jane story arc and maybe one other, give it a little room to breathe.
Yeah.
It might be easier to follow. When you're trying to juggle all of those storylines at the same time, it's none of them are going to shine through. Like, there's supposed to be some, like, people are threatening revolution and then nearly getting killed because their air is getting depleted. Like, that was barely touched upon.
Well, and I think that's because it's all stuff that they're introducing about the environments that these people are living in, right? Like I said, it was kind of more location based than it was just like character, plot, etc. So I think there will be more things that are fleshed out over time, because I did get the impression that they are paying attention to detail and they are going to work this out, and that they had to give us this they didn't have to. They chose to give us this much information because there's so much that they wanted to tell. Now I have no idea, because this is all I've seen. So hopefully hopefully it gets better. I don't know. I'm still, because I know somebody who is that passionate about it, and because I am curious about it, I will give it a chance and try at least one more episode. But that's it. Like, if it doesn't,
It's always hard to judge on a first episode,
Right.
Like Evan was saying, pilot's disease, and but there has to be something in that pilot, even if the pilot isn't great, there has to be something in that pilot to make you keep wanting to keep going and give it a little bit more of a chance. And it sounds like that something was there for you, Angie. So let us know how it goes.
thanks.
Was the first scene with the girl who's breaking herself out of space jail? Mm-hmm. Like, that's the girl that Thomas.
Yeah, that's the girl.
That's
So-
who he's looking for.
Like-
So she was on the ship that they were investigating that had the tracking beacon on it at the end of the episode. She was on that ship
She was so like that.
at some point.
The only, like, that was the beginning of the show, and like that intrigued me the most. And then everything else, like I said, like the terminology sort of like muddied that up, because that was engaging. And then, I mean, there was a thing where part of the ship was absorbing people, and I was like, holy crap.
Right. That's
And
actually
then-
the thing that made me most curious. I want an answer. Like, I want to know if they're going to give us more of her story in the next episode. So. But yeah, I am sorry to hear that it was a swing and a miss for you guys, but I do appreciate you taking the time to watch it and give your honest feedback, because this was a chance taken for all of us.
And I appreciate the recommendation from your friend, because even if
you.
we don't like something, it's always cool to check out something new.
Yeah, I mean,
true.
I've
Appreciate
heard people talk about this show, and well, now I know it's not for me, and that's fine. Not everything is for me.
But let's all be honest, this is definitely not the worst show that we have watched.
Oh, goodness, no. It's not even the worst sci-fi show we've watched.
And like I said, it could get better after the first episode. And if I do think that it's going to, and there is some ray of sunshine in this that isn't going to light people on fire, Chris, I will let you know.
Please do. I like being let know that things aren't going to catch on fire.
I like when there's hope and not everything on fire. Misery.
All right.
So that's it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all we got on that. We didn't have as much to say about it because we just didn't really love it that much. Sorry.
Well, I mean, it's been about a half hour.
Okay.
So
well,
the second half is usually shorter than the first, especially when we have so much stuff to talk about.
I know, it's so true. It's so true. But yeah, I hope that listeners will give it a shot, and if they've watched it, I'm curious to hear people talk about it and tell me what they think because I'd like their feedback. But that's it. So now it's time for me to kind of change directions here. And Chris, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, he was born ready, folks.
I
All
was
right.
born ready to tell you that this week's episode is not filmed before a live studio audience, but it is fueled by feedback from listeners like you. And you can get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We have an official Geekade Discord, where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, through the official Geekade channels, or the more specific Twepcast accounts. And of course, the four of us can be found in various ways. I'm on Twitter at GeekadeChris, and you can read my work at StoneAgeGamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine, and I'm on like 14 other podcasts on Geekade. Karen, where can people find you?
You can find me at shoot_the_moon on Twitter, and my fun feminist fandom fiber art at shootthemoon or STM Stitches on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, on Instagram where I just hit 500 followers.
Congratulations!
Yay!
What about you, Angie? Where can the good people find you?
You can find me on most social medias at A4Not or on Twitch at LaraCraft13. But if you want to drop a follow on my Instagram, I'm trying to get my numbers up too. And I'm so close. I'm so close to the next milestone.
Milestone.
I want it. I want it, people. Help me.
What about you, Evan? Where can people find you?
At all versions of social media, I am at Geekade_Evan.
All right. If you need to know more about the shows we discussed tonight or what we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes. And if you have any other questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words "this week's episode" in the subject line so we know who you're trying to reach. This show is available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please like, comment, subscribe, and leave reviews, because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Again, as always, keep your eyes on geekade.com for more fresh, original content. Back to you, Angie.
Thank you, darling. All right. So, Evan, it's your turn. What are we doing?
All right, so first off, next episode is our news episode, and I think we've got a lot of news so far. Like, I just looked at it, and holy crackers, next episode's going to be a rough one. But
We have been having a lot of fun with the. I've started posting all the news stories in our Discord channel, and it's been going very well. We've been having a lot of fun chats over there.
Awesome. I pop in every once in a while because I have to keep the Discord off on my computer because I have so many notifications that I just don't shut off. But I do pop in every once in a while and see the conversations, try to chime in. But after that, my choice. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, and I referenced we are caught up with this one, but I want you guys to check it out. We are going to watch The Nevers, Season 1, Episode 1, the pilot. I really want you guys to check it out, and I want to get your feedback on it. So, Nevers, Season 1, Episode 1, the pilot.
Get pumped. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm so excited. I like this show.
Mm-hmm. Way to spoil it, honey.
Sorry. Wait, no, it's terrible. I don't know what you want me to say. I've never seen it before, even though
That's
we
better.
talked about
Lie
it.
to them. Lie.
I don't know. I don't want to lie. I want people to like it because I like it, and I want it to keep going. All right. Anyway, that's it for us this week. I hope you guys had a good time. Don't forget to check back in for our next episode where we'll have all the news to talk about. So, from all of us here at this week's episode, I'm Angie.
I'm Karen.
I'm Evan.
I'm in space.
Good night, everybody.
And this concludes our broadcast day.